So how do you know if you have outgrown your friendships? And what do you do about it? Hi, this is the topic we have today. And welcome if you're new. My name is Janet, and this is the Second Act Collective. So let's dive into the topic of friendships in midlife. In your late 40s, 50s, 60s, a lot of times we get into this place where our friendships are they feel like they're falling apart, or you feel lonely because you don't feel like you're really connecting with the friends that you might have had for a long time. And I just want you to know this is common. This happens to all of us. And I think I've talked about a little bit about friendships in some of the videos you can check out in the playlist. But today I want to talk about you outgrowing the friendships, right? So maybe the things that you kind of bonded over, the identity roles that you played. Maybe you were a mom and your kids played soccer, so you developed that friendship through that. Or maybe you went through something traumatic and you bonded over that. Or maybe you shared a history, a past, college, in high school, whatever, and you bonded up over that. So those identity roles that you might have played, that might have brought you together, might have come to the end of their season, right? So maybe your kids now are gone, and that role that you played as a mother, you're still a mother, but the things that you used to do with your kids, you're no longer doing with your kids because they're no longer, at home. So that identity that you bonded over with someone is no longer there to hold maybe that relationship. And I do believe this happens a lot with relationships that I feel like are more surface level. They're built on a less strong foundation. They're based on more of identity or situations or circumstances or events more than the facts of, they've kind of grown with you as you have evolved. So those kind of relationships we tend to actually outgrow when they're very superficial, when they're based on kind of those circumstances, because once that a role that you used to play is no longer there, the friendship tends to fall apart. So this is one way of also knowing that things, that you've outgrown things. And the other thing that happens is that you yourself and me, we evolve, right? We're no longer the people that we used to be in our 20s or 30s. We have become different people. We have different values. And I think the value evolution really makes a big impact on us. Because honestly, there are certain values that I've held, as a Christian, I've held my beliefs on God throughout my life. Now, if I lived right all the time, no. But I've always held God in, higher than anything else in my life. And I value my relationship with Him. And so that kind of value has not shifted. But there are other values that have changed, especially values to do with maybe money, values to do with work and how I work, values to do with family and what I consider important, value to do with my values to do with business. So you might have had a friendship based on, on one value that you might not hold, or it might not be the same in your 40s compared to what it was when you were in your 20s or 30s. Maybe you were hustling back then in your 20s and 30s, making money whichever way, a lot of hustle, a lot of working hard, a lot of, just survival mode kind of place. And as you get older, you don't want to function like that. I mean, apart from the fact that it does a number on your, what am I trying to say? It does a number on your system, on your body. It does your number on your immune system. It does your number on your emotional state. You can't continue in that place of probably how hard you were running when you were in your 20s and 30s, right? Your nervous system just can't handle that. At the time you're in your late 40s and 50s, you just realize I can't keep in this pace and be okay. So I think that's where we tend to see values in us women change a lot, is because we're just in a place where, like, do I really want to live my life that way? And it might have served me when I was younger, but it's not serving me now. And so we change our values, or rather, I would like to say we evolve. You have wisdom. You're in a better place to understand yourself more, that, your values really change and evolve to be different than what they used to be, at least for most people, I would say. So if you had friendships that were based on a certain lifestyle because of certain values, and then you change, then that becomes an issue in that friendship. And the friendship may start to fade. And it's hard to be losing to lose friends. It is. And I think this is one of the things that women in midlife honestly struggle with, because the shifts are just so many that are happening to us, and friendship is one of them that is happening. When you really want to have, deeper, meaningful relationships, you feel like you're outgrowing the people in your life. And another thing that happens with outgrowing friendships is also you yourself just becoming someone different. And so we talked about values, right? Your values are becoming, might have changed, and you've become, you just value different things. But you yourself changing in terms of even your ambitions, or the kind of work that you want to do, or the kind of business that you want to do. And a lot of times, people can be threatened by that. They can be threatened by the fact that maybe you're not okay staying in the career that you've been making the money that you've been making. Maybe now you want something different, a very different career, a very different business, and maybe you want to make more money, or maybe you don't want to really make that much money. Either way, it seems to trigger certain people in our lives. And so you find yourself that you're in a place where you cannot share exactly what's in your heart, because the friends that you have just don't get you. They don't get what you're doing. They don't get what you're trying to build. They don't get why you feel the way you feel. And it's not to blame anybody, because on their own, when you look from their point of view, they're also probably going the same thing, feeling the same thing like you are, where you just don't feel like you're seen or people get you anymore. And you cannot explain to them the person that you're becoming. It's very hard to explain, because sometimes you don't even know what you're becoming yourself yet. So they might not understand, why are you going after this career or this business or this lifestyle? And because they're at a different place than you, it's hard for them to understand why. I forgot to do something here. Okay. So that in itself can cause just a breakdown of the friendship, because you are really in a very different place. And this ties into, I think, just personal growth. Right? So you have people who are natural learners. They want to learn. They're always evolving and learning. And I really consider myself one of those people. I want to learn different things. I have a lot of curiosity about a lot of things. And sometimes you feel like you are outgrowing people, especially people you've been friends with for a long time, because a lot of times people might not want to move from, who they were 20, 30 years ago. They're still in the same place, still maybe doing the same thing, going to the same places, like nothing really has changed in their lives. And I think this happens to people who, if you're that type of person who's got that growth mindset, who's a learner, who's a life learner kind of person, you're always seeking out things and you're always looking to do different things, you will definitely outgrow a lot of your friendships, because people just don't get that. A lot of people don't get that. And it's hard for them to even keep up with what is going on with you. So I think this is, I would say, one of the biggest thing that happens is this, you just becoming this other person that they don't understand, and so you might not understand at that time, but they are stagnant and you're moving. At least you're learning new things and wanting to do different things, and they're just happy with the way where they are. And there are people like that, with personalities like that, who are not they're not maybe adventurous as much. They are not into trying new things. They love to have secure and safe things, and that is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I just totally believe that God made us with very different personalities, and it's okay that people are the way they are. I think the thing that we need to then realize is that, am I that person? Am I even, because you can look at yourself as the one who's growing, and you realize you're not, yeah, you can try to help someone grow, but if they're not that personality, it becomes hard, and then the relationship feels like you're the one who's trying to push someone when they don't want to be pushed, and that in itself can cause friction. So when this kind of personality traits start to appear, and I do believe this, they can probably start in your 30s, but in your 40s, you are realizing that you are just, maybe this is your mindset, this is where you think, and then there are people who are just stuck in the past or stuck where they are, and they're very happy and content and satisfied, and maybe you're not with just having the status quo. So that in itself becomes an issue, like I said, and we then have to realize, okay, there's nothing wrong with them, and there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you for wanting that venture, for wanting to try different things. Nothing wrong at all. That again, the thing is to know that, okay, maybe our friendship has come to a place where we need to let this go. That you have outgrown this person, and they've outgrown you as well, because you're just becoming something else that they cannot keep up with. What is the other thing that what other ways do we outgrow people? Right. I think in friendships where we are bound, or we go to be friends because we went through something together. And I'm drinking, I think this is some peach ginger tea that I'm drinking. Because we're in the middle of winter here. In case you see me wearing sweaters every day, it's because it's actually cold. It's warm in my house, but I like to keep myself warm. Anyway, what was I saying? Talking about the trauma bonds, what they call trauma bonds, where you form a relationship. And this can happen even with a spouse, right? So not just friendships. You can be in a relationship with someone because you were bonded together, because you shared some things about what happened to you or what happened to them. And the friendship was formed because of that trauma. And this friendship, they're good and necessary for a season. But I also think you don't want a friendship that is based on that only. Because once you are healed and you want to get out of that situation, you don't want to keep going back to that friendship. To that trauma, and kind of reliving it or being reminded about it, because you have kind of left it. So these are also the relationships that we tend to outgrow, because we just come to a place that you're like, I've grown out of this, I'm healed, I don't want to keep getting the reminders. And also sometimes being with the person itself can be a reminder in itself, which you would then need to just move away from that, to let it go, and let it be. And just letting go of things of those kind of relationship is actually very good for you. Trying to think of, then how do we move forward, right? When you are the one who feel like you are excuse me, you're outgrowing the people in your life. What we tend to feel a lot of times is, I think, some shame and guilt, especially you feel guilty that you no longer feel the way that you used to feel about that person. It doesn't mean you don't love them, but we can really carry this guilt with us that we don't feel the same way we used to feel about them. And that can be a problem for the person who has outgrown the friendships. And then what that tends to happen again is that we get stuck instead of moving forward. So how do we move forward so that we're not stuck in relationships that we've outgrown? I think it's understanding that relationships have seasons. Honestly, as the Bible says, that to everything there is a season for planting, a season for reaping, a season for life, a season for dying, a season for everything under heaven. That is, I think, something that we have to always remind ourselves, that even relationships have seasons. They have seasons in them. And when we have outgrown, and when we see that things have outgrown, we have outgrown these relationships, but then we need to take the steps to let go. And also understanding that the seasons, a lot of times I believe that God is putting people in your life for where you are, and especially the seasonal things, things like marriage, or their long-term relationships there that we are to maintain and to do our best to keep, right? There are also family relationships that we can just throw away, but how you maintain those relationships is very different from your friendships. So how do we then maneuver this thing of knowing that, okay, this is, I need to let this go, this season, the season with this person is done, I need to move on, I need to move forward. Again, it's understanding the seasons first and foremost, that as much as the way an anchor may be necessary for a season for you, for whatever you were going through, whether it was traumatic or a happy event or whatever, there might not be the people to go into the next season with you. Because you have to understand that God is taking you from one season to the other. We are never stagnant in God. God is not, is not keeping babies, toddlers forever. You actually have to grow into an adulthood in your spiritual walk with God. And and with that comes the fact that some people cannot go to the next level with you. They cannot go into that next season with you. And they might actually become a hindrance to your destiny, to what you're supposed to be going, or where you're supposed to go. So I think understanding that, and understanding that God knows what he's doing, if it's time to let go of people. Because I think this is one of the most, I would say the most dangerous thing that can happen to somebody's destiny is when we don't want to let go of relationships that are causing hindrance to us going to the next level in our lives. And we stay stuck in a place because we're holding on to things that God is saying, it's time to go. And friendships can be like that because they affect us. They affect how we think. They affect how we maneuver the world. So it's very important to know. And I would say it's about really praying, because if you're sensing that the time has come, if you're sensing that you have outgrown people, there's a reason, right? And I believe that is a lot of times God telling us that this season is over. So just first and foremost, seeking God and asking, should I be holding on to this friendship? And if you feel like you're holding on to it, then it's asking God, why am I holding on to this friendship? What is it that I'm trying to get, or what do I believe I gain from holding on to it? And why am I afraid to let go of it? What is the thing that I'm depending on? Because a lot of things to do with relationships, why we have a hard time, is dependency. And the dependence is not always, money or anything. The dependency can be emotional dependency. It can be whatever it is you're getting from, or maybe they make you feel good or whatever. And because we have that dependency, we don't want to let go of relationships that we've actually outgrown. So I think seeking God and asking him, is it time I let this relationship go? And again, I've said this before, is holding the relationships and people very loosely in your life so that God is able to maneuver them in and out, depending on if they need to be there. Because you're not going to be able to go to the next level in your life if you're holding on to the past. It just doesn't work that way. You need a new way of thinking, and God might be wanting to bring people in your life that that are for that next season, that will help you grow, that will help you walk into whatever he has for you. And you're holding on to old things, and saying, God, I want to move with you, I want to do this with you, but you won't let go of the things that he needs you to let go, so that he can do what he needs you to do. No, what did I say? So that he can do what he needs to do in your life, not you, sorry. So So yeah, so that's the one thing that I would say is the first step, is honestly seeking God. And second, you stop holding tightly to people and to things, because even in seasons, just like you have to let go of friendships, you might have to let go of things, in your physical things, in your house, in your place, in your life, right? Like we might need to let go of clothes, whatever, but the things that we are supposed to let go to move into the next chapter of our lives. And so these discussions are important because we are all moving into that, we are in the second chapter of our lives. And for us to fully exist and to fully thrive and to fully walk in what God has for us, we do have to, let go of these things. And friendships is one of them, as difficult as it might be. It is one of the most important things that we do, is to know when it's time to let go of that friendship. And also, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to get it back. Because I've had friends that I thought, oh, maybe the friendship was over. And then in another season, I see, oh, they're popping up again. God has brought them back. Right? So again, if you're holding people loosely in your life, it is easy for you to let them go with no guilt, no shame, no anything, no anger towards them, and then to accept them back in when it's the right time for them to be in your life again. And also to allow yourself to be like that to other people, that you could be for a season, be very close, and then in a different season you might not be close, but then maybe later on you come back. So just having that flexibility in your way of thinking when you look at friendships, then you're not, feeling guilty, you're not feeling bad, you're not feeling lonely, all the things that come when we have, I think, a misunderstanding of friendships and seasons in our life, and who should be in that season and who shouldn't. Even this applies to family members too. Like, there are family members who should be in your life at certain seasons, some who shouldn't. When you look at a family structure itself, we are in our children's lives, until they're off in college and they start working, and we're not so much in their lives. I mean, you still remain their parents, but your role and the things that you get to do with them and for them is very different, because it's a different season. They don't need you like they did when they were younger. So just understanding that everything in life has a season enables us to look at our friendships in that way, through those lenses of, these friendships also have season, and we don't have to be upset at anybody, and they don't have to be upset at us. We can just move forward knowing, in this season, maybe this is not the person that is to be in my life. So that's really what I wanted to share about friendships, and understanding seasons, and outgrowing, understanding that you do outgrow friendships, and it's okay. It's just how we deal with that emotionally inside, in the inner part of us, and how we deal with that with the friends that we are outgrowing, because it's a natural thing that happens to all of us in life. So if you enjoy this kind of videos, please subscribe and share this with your friends. I do think these are very important discussions to have, because this is what's happening to us in our midlife right now. So share this video with your friends. And if you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and put on the notification so you can get notified every time I upload a video, which I'm uploading every single day right now. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.